And try to remember the reason you decided to come this morning. And using that reason, generate a positive intention to use your time well. Now consider making the wish that this time benefits you and then naturally will ripple out to benefit others. We want to try to generate the hope that whatever understanding we have helps us to think of others, to care for others, to wish them well. So now we'll recite the 4 measurables. Do we have that for what do we have? Do we have the books out or do we have it on the screen? Do you want me to share my screen so it's up there? I know how to do that. It's a theory. Well, that's questionable. There it is. What page is it on? 34?
Yeah,
Why do you need that? Oh, because it's not sharing it there. Good point. Oh, now it's just gone away. There we go.
All right.
Move those people. You may not be able to see it. Most of you know it by heart. So we're reciting the 4 immeasurables. The 4 immeasurable refers to 4 measurable minds. Mind and heart are the same word in Buddhism. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Now, I'm not sure how you do this.
Are you going to do another one?
Yep.
Okay. You got it.
Yeah, that's a theory. Okay, how do I go? This is in preview. Okay, go to page. Hey, Marianne. Aren't you thrilled that I just announced you to the world? Okay. There it is. So for those of us who think of ourselves as Buddhist, we're going to recite the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. by the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So I can just unplug this, Anthony, and it will go back to me. Thank you. Hi, Tally. Hi, John. Hi, Gina. Hi, Angela. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Shelley. Hi, Christina. Hi, John Boyd. You have to be pretty old to get that one. Ah. Okay, so how are we doing? So the topic, it's always kind of nice to refer to the topic. We get 10 points and then we can move on to whatever we want to talk about. But it's becoming your own therapist. So what does that imply? Yes.
Staying in touch with your own mind, analyzing.
That may be what it means. What is the idea of that we should become our own therapist imply? That we all need therapy, that we're all mentally ill. That's what the Buddha is basically saying here, just so you know. We
didn't know.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, here we go, you know. Because one of the basic things in Buddhism is that we are all out of our minds with ignorance, that we don't, you know, that most of the states of mind arising in our thoughts are faulty. And they're faulty because they're based on an incorrect premise. You know, and one of the main things about that premise is that we think that taking care of this self is the most important thing. This self, which includes, you know, not just me, but mine, my family, my friends, my children, my whatever it is, my job, whatever comes under that umbrella at any given time. And the Buddha said, unfortunately, this is, you know, not true. It's just not true. That if you want happiness and don't want to suffer, you really need to cherish others. And not more than yourself in a sense. It's really that we need to cherish everybody equally. We need to recognize that self and other, you know, we need to equalize us, making them just as important as we see ourselves. So this does not negate self-care, you know, all those kind of little buzzwords we have in our culture. It just means that we've got our priorities completely backwards. You know, we have a tendency to go to what about me first? And from there, nothing but dissatisfaction arises. So we have to examine that. We have to really look at our minds and see, is that what's going on in my mind? You know, we can see it when it's obvious. When we're feeling that sense of unfairness going, what about me? It then becomes really obvious. We can see it in 2-year-olds really clearly, you know, but it's actually happening all the time. And we're just very good at thinking that that's just the normal way to be. And that of course makes perfect sense. But this is a symptom, the Buddha said, of our mental illness. This is the source of our unhappiness and our dissatisfaction. And dissatisfaction, you know, I'll use the word suffering a lot, but it really contains both the big sufferings that we experience, whether it's, you know, personal pain or mental pain, grief, you know, atrocities happening in the world, all the different ways in which they're really huge suffering, down to, you know, oh, I've got a hangnail suffering, you know, or me, I'm in constant turmoil because of the weather, you know, I hate the weather, you know, I don't like heat at all. Have I ever lived any place cold? No, never. This is called karma. I have not created the cause to live any place where I like the weather. So, okay. All right. So I do have to look at notes. So I'm nervous. This is, oh, who are you thinking of when you're nervous? Me. This is the problem. Okay. So Lamayeshi, who's the founder of this organization, this idea of becoming your own therapist. I'm sure he didn't make that up. He must have known a Westerner that talked about therapy, I mean, probably wasn't part of his vernacular. Is that the right word? I use words incorrectly all the time. So always check up if my meaning is correct because I'm not very good at words. So, but Buddhism's all about the mind. And remember that mind and heart are the same. So we're not making a distinction between intellect and feelings. It's just all thoughts that are generated in our minds. And so Buddhism is really about studying our mind, getting to know it so well, honestly, and without judgment. It's not about looking into your mind and going, oh yeah, I knew I was a bad person. It's not at all about that. It's about knowing what's going on in the mind. Because until we actually know what's going on in the mind, we can't really work on it and perhaps change the mind. Choose more healthy habits of mind over habits that don't serve us very well. So if the purpose in life is happiness, some say that's what Buddhism says, where does happiness come from?
Our mind.
Our mind. It's internal, isn't it? Where does dissatisfaction come from? It's also the mind. It's not actually out here. What do we do all day long in our attempts to have happiness and not dissatisfaction? We try to control all those external things, don't we? We need to, get up at the time that suits us. We need to have the food we want to eat in the refrigerator. We want to not have the weather that we have. All sorts of things. We're just constantly looking at how can I control the external environment so that I feel okay? What's the disconnect there? That's one. We absolutely can't control what's out there, right?
Everything changes anyway, and you're never going to be satisfied.
That's one. Yes. So like, when's the last time you got what you wanted and you stayed in that state? We probably all have things that last about, 3 days, and then you forget, but they're new, Then we have relationships, they're pretty good for 6 weeks, It's kind of iffy, So, what else is the disconnect?
That it exists within us, but we're looking outside and using control.
Yeah, how ridiculous are we? We are trying to generate an internal sense of peace, and we're looking everywhere but inside to do that. And it's a state of mind. And if we look around, we can see examples where people, despite their circumstances, their conditions, seem to either be content or discontented, and you can't understand that. You see rich people that are discontented, dissatisfied. You see poor people that are perfectly content. You see sick people who are in, tremendous pain, mental and physical pain. And you also see sick people who are not. What's the difference? What accounts for that?
The state of mind, attitudes towards
The attitudes towards what's happening. this understanding that external conditions, including the body, do not determine, do not insist that we must feel a certain way. We're just accustomed to reacting that way to conditions we like or don't like. And the Buddha said this is just how we are. We're just have this sense of dissatisfaction all the time because we're looking in the wrong place. The external world is never going to satisfy us because it's always changing, because we can't control it, because we have expectations. You know, when's the last time that worked out? Your expectations. I mean, we've just had the holidays. We just spent wonderful family time. You know, sometimes that's a really easy place to see, oh, I have expectations here. And sometimes we don't even know we have them. We just walk into a family gathering and we just can't believe it's the same as it was last year. Like, you know, surprise. So the Buddha said, we need to get to know our minds really well. And the solution to that, how do you do that, is through meditation. Did y'all read Becoming Your Own Therapist? Most of y'all have that book because we usually give it to you the first time you're here. I can't tell you how excellent it is. And then the more familiar you become with Buddhism, you just can't believe how excellent it is, because in this very short thing, it kind of covers all the bases. Doesn't teach you how to do everything, but it's like, oh yeah, that's right. You know, here I'm a nun. I've been a nun for like 20 years. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. You know, so it's a very useful little text. So, and I also have it on audio where you get to hear Lama Yeshe's very interesting English, which is, I love listening to. It probably annoys other people, but I find it just delightful. So, how did I get on that? Yes, yes. So I encourage you to read the book. Yes. So Lama Yeshe says that in particular, our mental illness is around attachment. Now, the word attachment has different meanings. In English, it has some positive meanings, like isn't it the term we use for the way parents feel towards their children, you know, that they are trying to develop a bond of attachment. And so that's perfectly healthy. We need to do that. Otherwise, kids wouldn't survive their first tantrum. You know, this is, you know, a good thing. But attachment in Buddhism means a very particular thing. Does anybody who studied know what that is? Anybody study? And not wanting to be separated from it. So attachment is seeing something you like. The mind of attachment arises when we see or experience something we like. But then it exaggerates the desirable things of that thing we like. It makes up a story about it, you know, which is why, you know, love is blind, infatuation's so nice, you know, because it's totally a made up fantasy. So we exaggerate it. And then we think we cannot be without it. What does that generate? That I cannot be without it. When you don't have it, right? As soon as that object is separated from you, you suffer, you know? Yeah, and it can be really little, you know, like, oh, I didn't get my coffee this morning. But then when the caffeine withdrawal kicks in, then it's like, it's bigger. Oh, I've got to. But the Buddha says we just kind of are going from sense object to sense object and either generating this attachment or the reverse of attachment, aversion, which is a form of attachment. It's seeing something you don't like and being attached to being separated from it. So you exaggerate the negative qualities of the object, and all those negative qualities could be wrong. It could just, like we see someone, we just don't like them on sight. You may not do that. I have done that on occasion. Or it's just for some reason you just don't like them. So it's totally made up. But then you exaggerate. You say to your friend, did you see that guy? Didn't he look creepy to you? And then you make a whole story about it. And you want to be separated from that person. And then you think you're not going to be happy as long as they're in your presence. Yep.
So anytime we use the word my and mine, there's attachment.
Yep.
I'm thinking about my partner.
Yep.
I'm thinking he's better than other people, right?
Right.
In my mind, because I have this attachment, so I'm
Yep.
Exaggerating it in the whole 9 yards in my mind, or it's my car, so it should be taken better care of. So
Yep.
anytime we have my mind, there's like you started with me, my mind, that all creates.
Yep. That's what we do with it. It doesn't have to be that way. We can get control of that. But our instinct is, oh, it's mine. That's, so it's perfect. And that's why, parents often, the misbehaving child is your child, not my child. It's your child. So we do things in language that make it really clear how we're thinking. But we haven't looked deeply enough, long enough, regularly enough to realize that's how we're making ourselves miserable, is how we're thinking about things. And one of the reasons I don't know about today, because we've had a lot of, this is a very self-help society and very, I don't know, but so maybe it's not true anymore, but we don't, so I've totally forgotten now where I was going with that. We need to learn that we can control our minds. We can, in fact, see what it does and then say, not going to do that anymore, and not do it anymore. Is it easy? Yeah, drat. No, it's not easy. Does it take effort? Lots of effort. Are we expending effort now on our thinking? How does worry feel? How about daydreaming? How about just distracting yourself from whatever you're supposed to be doing, and being somewhere else, We are busy all the time in our minds. So changing what we're doing with the energy we expend on our mind to expending it in a different way with our mind actually is no more work. It feels harder because we're not familiar with it. Because whenever you try something new, it's like, I'm never going to have the hang of this. What do they even mean? All the different questions and doubts and kind of like, I can't be bothered. I want to go back to worrying because that's easier, So we're selling ourselves short, first of all, because we're choosing to continue the same habits that make us kind of dissatisfied, instead of choosing to develop habits that might actually cut some of that dissatisfaction. So the Buddha just says, give it a try. Don't take his word for it. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Lama Yeshe's word for it. You have to find out. You have to expend the energy to discover, is there any truth to this? And that also takes time. So if someone says like I did this morning, just check in with your mind. What did you do? Not to put you on the spot or anything. I'm sorry, I can't hear. And what does that mean to observe?
Whatever. is there.
So what kind of things are there? Not you personally, but just what kinds of things are there? You know, we use kind of vague terms. I want to get more specific
Thoughts,
thoughts.
feelings, experiences, memories, whatever could come up, sensations in your body while you're sitting.
So we're experiencing all that through our mind, aren't we? We have these body sensations, but our mind interprets them. Oh, my knee hurts, you know. Don't sit cross-legged, idiot. You know, this is what we do. You know, so hey, this is my life.
Or
Things to do. How often do we stay in the present? And how I mean, like, I can be in the present if someone asks me a question. I usually have to say, repeat that, because I wasn't in the present. You know?
But when you forget where you are, you're in the present. 'Cause you couldn't remember where you were a moment ago.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You know, so as soon as someone asks me, you know, it's like, yeah, I'm here. What was it you said? I wasn't here that previous moment, you know? So this is part of our dissatisfaction. We're not even living our lives. You know, we're living, you know, I tend to, and if you're one of these people, I apologize in advance. I tend to kind of look askance. Is that a word? Askance at people who spend their pleasurable time behind a camera lens. And they're just video recording whatever's happening, or, you know, and they're not actually experiencing it themselves. They're doing it through a camera. I mean, that's how it looks to me. I don't know if that's actually true. It's because I've never been one of those people. I don't take pictures, you know, so we're kind of like that all the time. We're living our lives through a lens of the past and future, or just fantasy, period. You know? So we're not actually experiencing what's happening moment to moment. We're either making up fears about what might happen next, or making up fantasies about what might happen next, or stuck in some loop about something that's happened in the past. And it's either for the purpose of feeling, you know, keeping ourselves angry, upset, sentimental, you know, I don't know what that's about. Nostalgia. I mean, I do, I just don't know what that's about. So, but I do know its end result is not being present. You know. So that's another issue we want to look at. So checking up with what we're thinking, becoming aware of, so when we say meditation is the solution, what comes to mind when you think meditation?
present.
Being present. That's our resident therapist for us. And that's absolutely correct. Being-
Exercising the mind.
Exercising the mind. Oh, these are also so it's a good answer. Anybody have a beginner answer?
Calming.
Calming. Okay, these are all the results. How do you do that?
Practice.
That's also sort of a result.
Single. Focus.
Focusing. What do you, okay, so
To focus. So it's either just being focused, create a direction.
for your mind, for those thoughts, right? One way to do that is just in observance. You're focusing your thoughts on what are you thinking? You know, how are you feeling? Kind of thing. Do you have to be on a cushion to do that? No. But yet we do use the word meditation for that. So the word meditation, like mindfulness, that's a catchy phrase these days. What mindfulness means in Buddhism is to remember. So what that means is you're just to remember the object of your mind. So in meditation, you're supposed to remember the object you're supposed to focus on. You know, so when you're being mindful through the day, the object is your own mind. You know, it's nobody else's mind. You know, It's becoming accustomed to always knowing where you are, and not just bodily, but knowing what's in your mind. That in the backdrop, you just develop a habit so strong that in the backdrop, you're aware. Do you think we do that now?
Do what?
Do anything all the time like that? Certain. How do we know we have this ability?
Focus.
Mhm.
Because we can hold a job.
Because we can hold a job. Because we can learn. Because we can rehearse anger. Again and again and again. You know? So it isn't something that's really new. It's more of, again, this, okay, I'm used to thinking about the past, the future, fantasizing, daydreams, how much I dislike that person's outfit, how much I don't like the way he said hello, you know, all these different things. Instead, in fact, you know, we're really, really good at noticing externals. Why? Because our sense awarenesses are activated. You know, other than when we're asleep, most, you know, we've got our eyesight working for us, our ears working for us, our taste, our smell, our touch, all of these senses are constantly giving us information, and we just pay attention to it.
Making predictions.
And then we go, oh, can we make this happen some more? Like s'mores. So, yeah. And thinking that our sense delights, or sense, it's the opposite of delights. Displeasures. We'll go with that. You know? Disgust. Sense disgust. Try to get something equivalent of delight. But, you know, we're constantly being pulled towards the things that we find, you know, delightful or pleasurable, or just mildly better than the last moment, you know, and pushing against all those things like, you know, the drearies, the boredom, the, you know, meh, you know, blah, this is what I have to do today, you know, bleh, boring, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. Do you have a
No, I was thinking, because I was thinking sometimes I approach a disgust and I was like, but what would be that motivation to change it so then I can be away from it? But it looks like I'm approaching it.
Mhm. You are approaching it sometimes, you know, but sometimes it's just there. That's what's arisen. You know, the disgust, you mean, so how that mind of disgust arises?
Visually. So you see people who are like, they go to this, like we have a friend, reads sad books all the time, loves to go into the crying and all the stuff. So something that we might identify as suffering, they actually look like they're moving towards it.
Right.
Where
Yeah, and it's
supposedly
just,
the nature is to move away, except
that's not, yeah, but it's not what we do, because we misunderstand how things are. It's just like horror movies. That's a thing. I mean, you know, that's a really popular genre, you know, and it makes lots of money, you know. And I remember, you know, watching scary movies on my parents' bed when they were gone on like Sunday afternoons or something, and just being terrified. Of course, they were things like Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte, you know, I mean, they were, you know, they're not scary in today's terms. I can't watch current horror. It's too grotesque to me. I can watch suspense ones and they scare me to death, but it's just, why do we like that? Why do we like that? What comes?
Dopamine.
Dopamine. It's chemical. We're addicted to feeling feelings of delight, horror, whatever it is. We like sensation. And we're addicted a bit to sensation. And of course, we like pleasurable sensation the best, you know, even if it is that thrill of the roller coaster ride, you know, and we really don't want pain or boredom or anything that's, you know, we find undesirable. And this is not healthy. This constant seeking of sensory experiences as a source of happiness and avoidance of suffering. We're never going to win. No, because we can't keep our sensory inputs always responding in one way or one even direction. Gets back to this idea we can't control externals. So if our happiness or dissatisfaction depends on that, we are in big trouble. We will always be going on that roller coaster from highs to lows, highs to lows, highs to lows, highs to lows. So if we want something more stable, we need to learn to not be so reactive to just what's happening out here. This does not mean not enjoying or not recognizing pain. Pain serves a function, but it means not letting our mind get pulled up and down according to what's going on with our senses. Yes.
So you use words like addiction and stuckness and stuff like that, and that becomes not just like a mind thing, like a physiological pattern, groove, like a
It's both.
right. And so does the remedy continue to be mindfulness, like no matter how
Yep.
stuck, like
Yep.
even if it's the stuckness that's
No, because the stuckness is not, that's just sort of rehearsing. So observation is just is a starting point. We can't change anything if we don't even pay attention to what's going on. That's the first step. Then we need to use our reasoning, our wisdom to look at it. So we need to ask questions. Why am I reacting this way? What's going on with this? So we can start to see, oh, I had an expectation of this and I got that. Or, oh, I thought he was perfect. And guess what? He's not. And that I'm disappointed. Even though, intellectually, we know that's a stupid idea to begin with. We know no one's perfect. We don't even really hold out for the perfect person. Otherwise, we never go out with anyone at all. There'd be no babies, it just wouldn't happen. But it's, so we don't, that's not what we do, but it is, in fact, these little, this is why we had to bring our wisdom to it. And we have wisdom. It's not that we have to make up new wisdom. We have to uncover our wisdom by observing what's going on and then using our reasoning to go, does this even make sense? How we can worry ourselves sick, whereas if we look at it and go, okay, is there a solution to this? What is the solution? Can I put into place? Do I need help getting the solution? If we problem solve instead of just worry, it's a different outcome, isn't it? And if there's no solution, does it help to keep going through it? No. And so we need to figure that out. We need to use our reasoning to go every time we start to just, what's that word? Starts an R.
ruminate. Ruminate?
Yes, ruminate. I need better ears. Ruminate. So we need to then go, oh, look what I'm doing. I'm ruminating. I need to change my focus to something else. Because sometimes that's what we have to do. We have to just change our focus. So, oh, this isn't helping. I'm going to go for a walk. Anthony, you had your hand up.
We have a question in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Someone's asking what helps us be better, but
Because our desire for happiness. So if we start to notice, oh, maybe this habit's not working for me. Maybe if I, reduce it, maybe things will go a little better. Because we have to ask ourselves, do we just want to stay dissatisfied? Do we just want to, because you look, it's going to vary. Sometimes we're going through a period where everything's kind of going okay. Your job's going okay, your relationship's going okay, the kids are all healthy, all that, your car hadn't broken down, you have enough money in the bank, but somehow you still can wake up kind of like, is this all there is kind of feeling? And so you work with that in a particular way, looking at it as this is just dissatisfaction. So what is it? I think I need pleasure in every second. Well, that's kind of foolhardy, that's not going to happen, so that we can counter the thoughts that are saying another boring day and, in the neighborhood or whatever. So then there are other times where everything's a catastrophe, nothing's going well. We have to deal with that mind in a different way. It's the same idea of observing it, but we have to be more nurturing. We have to be more realistic about what we can put our energy towards, because we're already carrying a lot of weight. So it's a more gentle process. It always should be gentle. Whenever we're looking, we don't really want to say idiot to ourselves. It's not helpful. I do it all the time. I can tell you it's not helpful. It just makes you feel like you can't change. And I know that's not true. So it's kind of funny that we have habits that, just refuse to die. But they, you can, one good thing about all of this is the more you practice, the more you notice your own habits, the more you can laugh, the more you can go, there I go again, and I may say idiot, but it doesn't have the weight that it once had, so, things do shift. Yes.
So the way we use Dharma, we need Dharma. So let's say before I find Dharma, I'm sitting there and I'm sitting quietly and I'm like, why am I reacting like this? Well, because they're an asshole. What's the solution? I should kill them, right? So that is in a meditative state with
You're focused.
my limited mind, the I, the me, the my interpreting the solution.
That's why you also need to study.
And then Dharma can come in and go, wait a minute, it should be about internal, not external. It should be, and then those can help us find.
Well, it's sort of like going, okay, so let's take anger, because anger comes up a lot, whether it's in the form of minor impatience or big time anger. How clear are we when we're angry? Is there any wisdom there?
Feels with.
It feels
It feels like I know. It feels like I'm really clear about the anger.
yeah.
I'm attached to.
I know I'm angry.
Right.
The next question is, but what do you know when you're angry? It's like, are you really, is there really wisdom there? Or is it just, now I'm angry? The Buddha said, when we're angry, we're out of control. No need to, listen to that mind. It's not that it's not useful to know that some condition has arisen and this was the result. But when your mind is angry, wisdom cannot be present. Only anger is present. So it's literally, you need to wait for the anger to subside for wisdom to arise. And you have to choose to try that out, as opposed to holding on to the anger, and sometimes we're going to do that. We're just going to say, yeah, I want to suffer. I'm going to hold on to that anger. I'm going to tell everybody about that anger. I'm going to feed that anger because I'm right. So I was really good at that. But if your relationships are always suffering because of anger, if your mind is distressed often because of anger, you might want to consider the possibility that letting it go is a smart move. That there's nothing in it for you to hold on to your anger. It isn't that we can't learn something from conditions that trigger anger. But what we really need to learn is what's going on in ourselves. What is it that is underneath that anger? Usually it's desire of some sort. I desire to be treated fairly. I desire to be recognized for my skills. I desire to get what I want, you know, whatever you want to keep looking at. Yeah. Well, both, actually. Yeah. I expect to be happy. I expect to be treated fairly.
Same.
Yeah. Desire is a state of suffering. It's craving. Does craving feel good? How fast does when the craving is satiated, how long does that last?
40 seconds.
Yeah, I think so. You know, ask any smoker how many times they've looked and realized they have 3 cigarettes burning in their ashtray. You know, probably doesn't happen these days because everybody has to go outside. So, but I mean, it's like really interesting how we can eat a box of cookies and only remember the first one, you know, because we've moved on. Oh, that was nice. Now I'm bored. We've just moved on. We can keep our taste buds happy. And then our stomach's not so thrilled with us. You know, but it has to get really sick for it to distract that taste bud, you know, so. Okay, so you study, like on Monday nights right now is what is it?
Mind and its potential.
Mind and its potential and discovering Buddhism. It's a Zoom class. It's being led by someone up in North Carolina who I took it from 20 years ago, 25 years ago. You know, and it's all about different, you know, sort of Buddhist psychology. How does Buddhism define states of mind, feelings, all those kind of different things. And so that's a really good place to start, is to start looking at your thoughts with some new jargon. Because we need to learn a new vocabulary, like things like, is there wisdom and anger? They're 2 different states of mind. They don't coexist. No. Partly because the definition of anger is, you know, looking at the negative in something and wanting to kill, basically kill the source of that anger. You know, you want to stop it, you know, because you think it's out there, right? Someone caused you to be angry. So the solution is to get rid of, eliminate. What do we know about that? What does war teach us about that? I'm sorry. It creates more anger. And does it get rid of enemies? No.
More.
It creates new ones. Oh boy, you kill the old ones and the new ones appear. You know, not too bright. His Holiness really he loves to laugh about the word peacekeepers, the UN peacekeeper army, you know. What's wrong with this picture? So.
They call some nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. This is how deluded we are. You know? And there's no simple solution to that. We have to work on our minds. We have to figure out if what's going on in our mind is helping us or hurting us, if it is logical or illogical. Is there any wisdom there or not? Because it matters to our sense of contentment, to our sense of quelling craving, you know, of really being able to go, okay, I'm getting a little attached here. You know, and what does that say? This is the shorthand. If you're attached. So what was the part of that definition of attachment?
Don't want to be separated.
You don't want to be separated. Is that realistic? Okay, so X, no wisdom there. What's another part of the word? Exaggeration. Is it true? No, it's an exaggeration. It's a lie. No wisdom there. We want to be able to start recognizing that the way we think is often just a total mistake. It's a mistaken state of mind. It's an exaggeration, whether it's negative or positive. It's a lie. It's not the truth. So do we want to listen to it? You know, so that's why when anger arises or strong craving arises, we want to look at it. I mean, this is what you do when you try to quit an addiction. When I quit smoking, I had to look at it and go, okay, you think this is going to last forever, this misery. I made it last a long, long time. And finally, I quit when I finally realized I'm going to have to suffer. I'm going to have to choose to suffer in order to get over the suffering. You know? So when the suffering would arise, I'd have to go, is this going to last forever? No. It won't last forever. It's not even, it'll last what? I don't know, 7 minutes or something. I mean, some length of time they measure. You know? Now, will it come back? Yes. Give us 30 minutes, I'll be right back. You know, but can you wait that 7 minutes or whatever it is? You know, and you just, you know, you have to keep countering it. And finally, the physical cause for the addiction's out of your system. And then you can start to gain, okay, what is this? I can pretend that it's my physical body saying I have to have this, but it's a lie because it's not in your system. It's the desire for all the habit, you know? And I was smarter when I smoked. So I wanted that back. My memory was better. I was more clear thinking, you know, we lie. It's just unbelievable how much we lie to ourselves. You know, so we want to catch ourselves and not hate ourselves for it or think, you know, oh, you know, what a loser. It's more of just kind of like, okay, you know, if I want to be happy, I have to do something differently. I have to suffer through this. I have to, you know, because change is difficult. It causes all sorts of uncomfortable experiences. So we have to decide, is it worth it? Now, something to me like smoking eventually, I don't know, 20 years became obviously something I really wanted to not do. You know? But I still, how many, 32 years later, still when I see people standing outside in miserable weather like the pouring rain, smoking a cigarette, I go, oh, that's why I don't want to do this, because I'm one of those people who'd be right out there joining. I stood in, you know, like high snow on someone's porch to have cigarettes, you know? And this is what we have. This is what we're up against, is our habits of mind that totally believe that if we just get what we want in the external realm, this will make us happy. And it's a total lie. It's not true. And everything about our culture encourages this way. This is how advertisers work. You know? Don't think about your life. Pull out your credit card. You know, make life happen. You know, so, you know, make us happy. The advertising department. And overstimulate it. You have to really look at that.
Can't eat just one.
I'm sorry?
You can't eat just one.
You can't just eat one. Yes, it's so hilarious. I mean, all the different ways. And this being overstimulated, recognizing that maybe it's not a good idea to play a video game right before you're supposed to go to sleep. You know, to always stay on edge. And my favorite example was ER. There was a program called ER. George Clooney was in it. I had good taste. You know, what can I tell you? But I would be on the edge of the sofa watching it because things happened terrible just from, like every 5 minutes, something new, some new thing. And it was like, and finally it was practically falling off the sofa and I'm going, okay, this can't be good for you. It just can't be good for you. So I stopped watching it. It's like, it doesn't mean you have to give up on things forever. It's just like anything else. When you realize you're not controlling yourself about it and that it has consequences, because when we're overstimulated, it can mean we can say and do things to others that we regret later. We can be short-tempered, or we can, be attracted to something that's harmful to ourselves because we're just in this state. So taking care of ourselves so that we don't choose bad actions, things that are bad because they make us suffer. We have to learn how to check up. I asked for the clock. I finally looked at it. This was a good move. All right, questions? Hi, Steve.
It's what we think is where our happiness is blocked. And I think you had a plaque on your table there.
Yeah.
We don't have to believe everything we think.
Right.
And that relates to what you were talking about.
That's right, because that's the thing. This is what's so tricky, isn't it? We look at our minds and then we have to go, can I believe it or not? Am I using my wisdom or am I using my sense reaction?
And sometimes somebody else's mind bringing something to us that you never thought about it.
Well, yeah, advertisers are so good. It's so much fun to play that. What is this advertising trying to get me to believe? Okay. I remember the old Budweiser commercials with the frogs. Remember that? Well, frogs. The target audience for that was 4-year-olds for name recognition. And they were perfectly fine with just telling a college researcher doing her graduate study on what advertisers are telling you. So we want to look at things and say, oh, it's trying to tell me that if I have this, I'm going to have all the partners. I'm going to have, I'm going to be extremely attractive. I'm going to be very bright, whatever it is.
So and as I'm reading the book, he's talking about wisdom dissolving anger or digesting it.
Yes.
So is mind, we're hearing the words clarity, beginningless. So mind is that, but it doesn't have a positive or negative quality. It doesn't have, it's a neutral. We are choosing in this physical connection to it to want to be happy, but it's not naturally happy. It's neutral.
No, I'd say it's naturally peaceful.
Peaceful.
Yeah.
So it's naturally peaceful, and through peace we can then feel instead of like when a desire comes up, instead of going to anger, we could go to more.
Actually, one of the things that as we calm our minds down through meditation, we start to recognize that if we don't mess with our minds, peace is naturally there. So again, we're not learning something new. It's not like we're trying to achieve something new. It's there. That's its natural state. It's our thoughts churning it up constantly. Yeah.
When we're talking about mindfulness, something I debate myself often. I find my devil's advocate always putting, what is it appropriate to contemplate? Because I feel that I'm solving problems when I am thinking about the future, but perhaps I'm not, and I can't engage that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
go forward.
One of the things I think is helpful is because we need to plan, right? So it's not like we can't think about the future. We need to plan. It's how much time of your day do you spend planning? In other words, how much time do you have to think about it? Maybe you set some time up in the morning. I'm going to plan my day, and you look at your emails or, and you kind of, and your schedule and what's scheduled for the day and you plan it, and maybe, and once a week you look at your next week, whatever, you plan it out. Then you don't think about it all day long. Something may occur and you have to go, oh, I'm going to have to change the plan. Because now it's not, so you change the plan. But yeah.
So like a balance through water.
I mean, it's like, so recognizing that thinking you can come up with the perfect plan is going to interfere with planning because you'll keep tweaking it. You'll keep having to go back to it, change it, change it, change it, change it, change it. Instead of going, oh, this is a good enough plan, let's go with that. Because you're going to be constantly making decisions that modify it anyway as life happens, because it's never going to go according to plan. We have all sorts of cliches about it because we can't control external events. Doesn't mean we don't need don't want to have a plan. It's just that we don't have to get obsessive about our plan and think about it all the time. We need to spend some time experiencing our life. So you really have to get kind of like what's realistic. If I spend 1/3 of my life sleeping, 1/3 of my life working, how much of it do I want to spend planning? Is how much left? And it seems to me that those of you, if you're thinking about plans for work, do it at work. They're getting paying you for working. Don't do it at home, so that kind of thing. And slowly, we start to question whether our reactions to things, whether it's anger or kind of uncomfortableness, anxiety, infatuation, and we start to look at that going, what does that really say? And then try to not go too far with it. Don't exaggerate it. Oh, this was a great meal, but it's all it is a meal. It's not the end all and be all of meals. All this stuff with like, you take a picture of your meal and you send it to your friends and, oh, this was the best, that's going to help the habit of exaggeration come into being, So it's just, we want to start looking, why am I doing this? What's the result of this? Does this lead to satisfaction or does it lead actually to more craving? That kind of thing. What else did I ask? Oh, look at my notes. Yes.
It definitely feels like the contrast between modern life and this practice. There continues to be like a strong contrast. Like, I don't want to do a lot of the photos and stuff. They lead to job opportunities. They're like, it's part of like being, self-promotional, like work-related things. And even if it doesn't feel good, like, even if it's like undermining the things that actually do calm the mind, like, still needs to be navigated.
Okay, so
right?
Is the thing what's undermining your state of mind? So this is one of the things we have to ask ourselves. Is it really the external object that's disturbing my mind, or the fact that I don't like it that's disturbing my mind, or the fact that it just seems so, that I don't have any time to do anything else disturbing my mind? It's our thoughts that are disturbing our mind. It's never the activity. When you're beating someone to death, it's your thoughts that are driving you. It's, the action, of course, is negative. Of course, it's harmful. But it's your mind. If your mind's happy doing that, where on the spectrum of mentally ill are you? That's not sane. But none of us are, but hopefully we're way far away from that in our continuum. So we always have to look and go, okay, I do this is work time. This is my, I'm self-employed. This is my promotion, this is what I need to be out there. Do you have to care? Do you have to be, you can just say, and then you say, that's enough. I've done enough today. So you have to put balance to it and recognize that this sense of this is taking me away from something. Nothing can take you away from your mind. It's always present. We can work on it all the time. And it's all about going, oh, I'm getting caught in this.
So if we can justify a behavior or find what, as long as it's not hurting someone else, then it's our intention that matters. So we can post a picture and know it's just marketing and not have it be an exaggeration or. So is that a question to ask? Wait, this doesn't hurt anyone. So now I need to look at my intention, because some people can justify hurting.
Of course.
You then go on all day long. Well, that's not. that
Yeah.
wouldn't be
And every
wrong.
time we ruminate over our anger or something, we're hurting people. We want to really look at habits, how harmful habits of mind are. If we practice disliking people, of noticing, things that we don't like about them, why they make us angry, how do you think we'll behave? Absolutely.
Not
Absolutely.
just that other.
Yep.
Right? If we're hurting ourselves a lot.
That's right. That's why looking at, I feel like I'm separate. Well, that's not true. Then what does that mean? I need to look at this more carefully and see what's happening with my mind at the time. We all have to work. That's a given. We have to have a way to sustain ourselves. That's not the problem. The problem is the mind we bring to it. If we're unhappy or miserable, our mind's doing that. It's not out here. I mean, our mind might go, I need to change jobs. That's reasonable. It's not that conditions, external things can't be conditions that are conducive to, states of misery. I would not want to live in a prison camp. Do I follow the law because I don't want to end up in jail? You betcha. I really don't like it when the policeman's behind me in a car. It's like, am I thinking of anybody else? No, it's just me. Please, may all my turn signals be working. May I not be speeding? Has the speed limit changed? May I not, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because I don't want to get in trouble.
He or she is a horrible person. Why are they behind me?
Yeah. Don't you have an emergency? I'm just an innocent, law-abiding citizen. We're ridiculous. So we want to look more carefully, at the consequences of our actions. That's part of using our wisdom. Okay. If I'm spending too much time self-promoting, am I living my life? It's reasonable to ask these questions of ourselves, to get a sense of, am I spending my life in a meaningful way? When I'm on my deathbed, what will I be thinking about? And are my activities leading me to be okay in that moment, or kind of regretful in that moment? So because that really kind of helps us get a sense of what contentment really is. Did you treat your loved ones well? Start there. Maybe you treat your enemies poorly, but it's likely if you treat your enemies poorly, sometimes you see your loved ones as enemies because they're in your way. Parents make rules. Partners make rules. We are not our sense of freedom, first of all, is illusory. But there are constraints. If we just wanted to chase sense desires, there's lots of restrictions on that, aren't there? Because why? Is it all just you? Are you all by yourself on this planet, discovering mangoes, which are really good from my perspective, So I lived in Australia for a while, and we were surrounded by things like mango farms, avocado farms, pineapple farms, strawberry farms, You can go wild. Tangerine farms. It's very good. But does that mean you can just spend your life, going, oh, I'll take this mango. I'll take this pineapple. No. Why? Because someone grew it. So what does that mean? Oh, there's an exchange. I have to exchange something in myself for that mango. It's just the way it is. We are a cooperative society. So it matters what we choose to do with our time, and what we choose to do with our time affects other people, whether we like it or not, whether we think it does or not. If you wear clothes, you're interacting with lots of people who live very far away from here. All the food you eat, everything we do is interconnected. And if we treat people as if they're inconsequential to our lives because they're not our loved ones or our coworkers or our friends, they're just the cashier or just the person in the next car or blah, 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 it's not going to be such a nice place to live. No, it matters. So look at checking our mind and seeing, why am I cursing out this driver? Thinking that that's going to make me feel better because they're crazy. Do I think I'm paying attention while I'm driving if all I'm thinking about is these idiots on the road that are going, no. So that mind of being reactive is harmful to myself and others. It distracts me from what I do have control over, which is being a safe driver myself. And sometimes we have to play games with our disturbing emotions. When I first discovered Buddhism, I was really one of those drivers that just could curse everybody and blue streak to everybody, if that's a phrase. But and so I had to make up things like, oh, I bet they're on the way to the emergency room because their partner's having a baby, I bet they're, blah, 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 and just all sorts of like, oh, they just heard they're getting a job promotion and they're trying to get to that first meeting, just stuff. You just make a best positive stuff so that you can let go of feeling they're all jerks. You're the only one with a life, that sometimes, Geshe Geller, the teacher in North Carolina, used to say, when he never took up driving, he really didn't like it. So he's always driven somewhere, like your teachings and wherever, and so he's sitting there as a passenger thinking, why are there some cars on the road? Where are they going? Like he's the only person that has someplace to go, This is how we think. And we need to check up on that and see how we suffer because we think this way, because in that moment we're thinking they're all in my way. Go away, do something else. Get off the road when I'm on the road. It's just, and that's a negative assessment of others. It's really thinking my life will be better if I can control how many people I have to bump into, So we want to look at what we're thinking and then apply our wisdom to it. Is there anything that in this thought that kind of just makes me feel worse about the world? Is that helpful? Do I need to shift to thinking about all the positive things going on? So it depends on what this is a big topic, by the way. We were not going to complete it today. So. Any thoughts, complaints, objections, debates?
What is the role in modern psychology? Because I listened to a podcast this week with Dr. Mate, and he quoted the Buddha saying, our internal world shapes our external world. But then the doctor stated that modern psychology brings into play that our
external world shapes our internal world.
So both they interplay. And that's a big topic, and we can try to address that. I like mate. It's this, what Buddhism would say about modern neuroscience is that it's fine as long as they don't just conclude, we would disagree, it's fine, whatever they say, but we would disagree with the idea that the mind is just physical. It's just the brain, that it's just electrical activity, blah, 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 chemical activity of the brain. Buddhism doesn't agree with that. Buddhism says the mind's not physical. The brain is a physical support for the mind in this life. We need that. Our human brain's particularly sophisticated. It's much better than a mosquito's brain, but our minds are the same. All the mosquitoes, anything that's sentient, they have the same kind of mind. It's just that their physical support is lousy in this life. So they can't do anything with it, you know, whereas we have this really sophisticated brain, so we can work with our minds, you know. So, but they definitely interplay. You know, we know if we're really tired, that's going to have an effect on our ability to control our speech, you know, those kinds of things. The hangries, you know, people who, you know, if you don't eat, it really affects their ability to kind of not, I don't know what the word would be for it. Hangry is a good word, you know. So there's definitely an interaction, but it is not the same thing, you know. Yes.
So you said that instead of worrying, we should have a solution-oriented approach.
I'm sorry.
Earlier you said that instead of worrying about something, we should have solution-oriented approach.
Did I say that?
Like
Instead of worrying.
we think.
Oh, instead of worrying.
solution. Yeah.
Instead of worrying and
Yeah.
just ruminating, yes, we can have a problem-solving approach.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So my problem is I am a very solution-oriented person, but then I get attached to the solution.
Right.
Like the solution is not coming out. I'm putting efforts. It's not happening. So I struggle there.
Yes.
I mean,
We
I don't
have-
know how-
Yeah. No. Yeah. Like I get attached to being right. You know. And Buddhism has really been humbling because I'm almost always wrong. I'm just wrong again. So it is this recognition that your solution is one solution, and that if given enough time, you could even come up with a different solution. You know, that's how clever we are. So holding on to getting the solution as you envision, unfolding that way, is making you suffer.
Yeah. And then as soon as I think, okay, you know what, it's not happening, I'm not gonna worry about it. And I start distracting myself, things start happening.
That's because yeah.
But knowing that still, it's every time it's very hard for me to detach from solution.
Yeah, and every time you'll have to work with it.
Yeah.
Every time it comes up, you have to go, I know that it's not true, that it has to unfold the way I expected it to unfold. I also know it's not true that having it unfold the way I want it to unfold is the only way for the solution to arise, that it's not like that. There are lots of solutions, you know, lots of permutations on how it can resolve, you know, and really use your wisdom to keep countering the mind that keeps holding on so tight. And then every time you see a solution arise differently from how you thought, and it still worked out fine, you want to remind yourself of that. So you have evidence that this idea, it needs to come, you know, unfold the way you saw it, is based on your desire to have it my way. You know, and we do it, you're hardly alone in that, you know, but it's every time.
Yeah.
Until it loses its power, because you no longer believe it so much. And we are up against, I mean, according to the Buddha, we are up against lifetimes of habit that produce these things. So I like to think of it as like this tsunami's coming, and we have to develop something strong enough to meet it every time and then finally push it over. It takes effort. Yeah.
What about having the ability to let it go when there is not a solution?
Yes, that's really hard too, especially when it's something that is difficult to accept, you know, like illnesses that have no solution, you know, and it's no cure, you know, it's your child that's sick, or that, you know, being able to understand, you know, that life doesn't have solutions. You know, in Buddhism, you know, that's a big topic, you know, of how that things in our life in this kind of, you know, experience are never going to have solutions. The solution is only in our ability to develop our minds to create a new kind of situation for ourselves. But it's being able to, you know, think of things that are light, that there are no solutions for, you know, like, oh, you know, it's not always going to be Coca-Colas in the vending machine that, you know, at the rest stop, they're going to sometimes be Pepsis, you know, so too bad, you know. So, you know, you can have some, you know, ways that this is reality. So there are things that you can't fix and you can be present for, but involves someone else, you know, that the most important thing you can do is just be an accepting witness to what's going on, because any of your resistance that there's, you know, that there's got to be a way to fix this is going to be contagious. And for the person suffering, if it's you or someone else, that's detrimental. You know, it doesn't help. You know, being able, it's like when someone's dying, being able to listen to their thoughts on dying rather than say, oh, you're not going to die, just don't even think that way, da, 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 you know, is extremely helpful to someone who is dying. You know, nobody's successfully prevented that. You know, so being able to be that witness of being, yeah, this is suffering and it's not fixable. In the big picture of looking at the Buddhist worldview, it's, you know, Buddhists don't die. They don't suffer anymore. So the Buddhist big view, worldview, is that there is an end to suffering, but it's by removing all these obstacles in our mind that can happen. So in the meantime, when we aren't Buddhas and we're stuck in samsara, which is just cyclic existence, this repetitive cycle of birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, you know, and, you know, all of those include death. The best we're going to do is die of old age. Yeah. You know, so being able to know that this is the nature of this kind of existence. Does that help at all? Because it, okay.
Can I'm having an internal experience to the words "let it go" with respect. So I'm just watching my experience. I had an experience. We were talking yesterday a little bit. So letting go to me has a passive. Like if we use a method.
Has anybody successfully let go and thought it was passive?
No, I'm talking about the person that said, just let it go, just put it aside.
Okay, are you hearing me?
Oh, wait, say it again, sorry.
Okay. Has anybody actually let go and found that to be passive?
No. not at
Okay,
all.
so your interpretation of the phrase letting go
Yes.
is mistaken.
Totally.
Yep.
So I was looking for method. So when I want to let go of something, what's a method I can use in Buddhism? And what I love what you said is if I can become an accepting witness, now I'm actively using wisdom
To let go,
to, well, or to have it dissolved or whatever he talks about.
digest.
Digest it, right? So that
Yeah.
it can become digested rather than I'm doing this avoidance way of using it. I'm
Letting
actually-
go is dropping. There's nothing passive about it.
Got it.
You know, if I drop this cup, it's not passive. But yeah, use a different phrase for yourself.
Totally.
Yeah, you know, so it's and letting go is not easy. It sounds great. Oh, just let it go. Just like, yeah, easy for you to say. You know, I'm like, that feeling. Why would you say that to someone else? It's like, there's no wisdom in that remark, so, if your friends are also Buddhists and they're trying to do these kinds of things, then maybe it's okay to say, have you thought about letting it go?
Hold on tighter.
Here, can I help? So, yeah. But yeah,
Here's like someone tells you about the story, so easy for you to identify with that. So instead of you helping for them to let go, you grasp, and now they have a team.
absolutely. It's really very funny. So we want to be mindful about what we say. So yeah, it's really, and sometimes, of course, what do we really mean when we tell someone to let go?
Stop bothering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut up already. We really want to face these things about ourselves. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we want to be saying, but that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, shut up now, I'm over it. So this is one of those reminders, though, to look, my favorite question to ask myself is, where am I in this picture? Am I just sick of this conversation? So shut up. Where am I? What do I want out of this?
Getting this conversation. Are those, in your view, are those processes that play out during meditation, or are you of the school of thought that the goal during meditation is to let your mind blank?
I'm not of that school of thought. In Tibetan Buddhism, we talk a lot about analytical meditation. You also have, it's sort of like where you start in meditation is first you need to settle down. And so there's some tools to kind of settle your mind, so you're not all over the place, because a distracted mind can't meditate. But then you apply logic and wisdom to your thoughts, and in order to work through them. So it's both process. You need to kind of calm down a little bit, but then you need to see what's going on and then attack it from different angles and investigate. So it's both.
Well, that's good news. I'm trying to let my mind go blank. I've been trying for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite work. And I realized what the issue is. I read a introductory Buddhism book a long time ago, and there was a chapter on meditation, and he was talking about certain tools like focusing on your breathing. We've all focusing on your breathing or counting. And I tried those for a long time, but the problem is, and I suspect it's a pretty universal problem, why that doesn't work. I can't speak for everybody. I suspect why it's not that effective is because how interesting is it to
We'll talk
focus
about that,
on our
because
breath
I have
or counting.
we'll talk
boring.
about that, but
It's hard to do that
yeah, so it's all about
accurately.
discipline. So we'll talk about that, because I am of the school that, yes, sometimes you have to count your breath. So we can continue this discussion in the future.
So it's both.
It's both. Okay, so we're out of time. We're over time. So much for my clock watching. So it's very good to see you guys. Now, what do we need to do?
I'm just getting ready for the dedication.
So I'm going to share my screen. Let me open the book. Not that one, not that one. Where is the book? Tell me I didn't. It goes black for a while. Isn't that a nice picture of Lama Zopa Rinpoche? I must have closed the book. People at home can't see it, can they? No, I don't think so. It's just. I know, but I'm not. I don't have the Zoom open yet. Where is my Zoom? I love technical problems. Okay, I'm gonna chill out at this moment.
You gotta get on.
I know, why is this so small?
Yes.
This button?
Yes.
Hello again. All right, now share screen, except it's not open. All right, where's the book? I know where it is. I know where share screen is. I think it will come back. Yay. Thank goodness we've all become somewhat Zoom literate, you know? Okay, so now someone tell me where the dedication prayers are.
244.
Okay. Now, the reason this is that dedication helps us rejoice, etc. Okay. And also to make sure we're thinking that we're not doing it just for ourselves. Okay, I don't know why this thing is down here. Is this it?
Yes.
Okay. So take a moment to just remember your motivation at the beginning and that everything we've done this morning is really beneficial for, our minds. We're trying to figure out our minds, and that is the source of all happiness and suffering in the world. So it's a really meaningful activity. So now we're dedicating it to benefit others. May all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then the long life prayers for our teachers, for His Holiness. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjana's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. So thank you, everyone. Thank you all at home. Thank y'all. And what announcements do we have?
Oh, if you want to join us after class, we have food and first Sunday of every month. So if you can't this week, then join us next month. Gladys will start sound bowl healing on Friday night here. 6:30. We continue with discovering, Buddhism, mind and its potential.
Okay, so Monday nights, it's a Zoom class, Mind and Its Potential. Look at the calendar and go for it. Friday nights is going to be Gladys's
Sound bowls.
sound bowls, which sounds very relaxing. So anyway, so I know nothing about it. So there you go. All right, Tibetan and Crystal. And that's this Friday. All right, wonderful. All right, that's all I know. Is that all I know?
Yeah, that's.
Bye.
Thank you.
There were 28 chats. I'm so bad. I didn't look at single one.
Thank you.